because that wasn't where my head was at. I didn't feel that was where our people needed to be at. And we had enough images of us being drug dealers and degenerates and unhumanly. I didn't want to contribute to that
content. Now, again, let me explain to you. Here's the interesting thing. So we hear all the time how black films do not sell overseas, which is totally false.
I've heard everything, and what I hear keeps changing, because they used to say it didn't sell over here. Then it does. Then it said it doesn't sell in the South. Then it does. Well, it doesn't sell in Europe.
You all know Weasly Snipes, right? He's out here tackling one of the biggest fibs ever spun about black actors, and folks are cheering him on big time. From the get-go of Hollywood, black performers have been put through the ringer, getting stuck in tiny roles, getting paid peanuts, and sometimes even getting shut out of the industry altogether. And let me tell you, that's not been doing any favors for the black community. These unfair treatments have left loads of incredibly talented, award-winning black actors struggling to make ends meet and relying on others just to get by. It's a real shame that we can't say the same for white actors in Hollywood. They seem to have their cake and eat it too, snagging all the top roles and cashing in the biggest paychecks. But you know what's been fueling this inequality? One big fat lie that's been hanging over the industry for years. Action star Weasly Snipes? Yeah, the dude from Blade, he's been calling out this lie. And let's hope the big shots in Hollywood start paying attention. So, what's the lie, you ask? Well, stay tuned, because we're about to spill the tea on that, and also find out how Hollywood's dealing with this wake-up call. Let's talk about Hollywood for a sec. Back in the day, there was this messed-up idea that black films and black actors wouldn't rake in the cash. So what did they do? They shoved them to the sidelines, or worse, stuck them in stereotypical roles like servants or slaves. Even when movies with mainly black casts popped up, they had a tough time getting any attention. Marketing companies wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. So, these films just collected dust on shelves, all because of one crappy myth: that black movies don't bring in the dough. What's worse is how black actors face the same unfair treatment, getting paid way less than their white colleagues. Let's take Terrence Howard, for instance. He reportedly got $325,000 for his role in Empire, while his white co-stars, who weren't even doing as well as him, were pulling in $2 million. Crazy, right? But here's the kicker. It's not entirely on him. See, actors usually have agencies handling their deals, and turns out Howard's agency had some cozy ties with the studios, so they negotiated a measly paycheck for him. And trust me, that's just scratching the surface of the struggles black actors have had to endure in Hollywood. Back in the day, black actors were often stuck playing these minor gigs that pigeonholed them into stereotypes like gangsters, servants, or just background characters. It was like Hollywood had this checklist of roles they thought black folks fit into, and it wasn't pretty. Studios were hesitant to put their money on a black actor to lead a film because they were afraid it wouldn't rake in the cash. But then, in strides Weasly Snipes, breaking all those old molds and proving that black actors could carry a movie and make it a hit. You know how those gossip mags always talk about Weasly Snipes being the hero who saved Marvel? They're always giving him props for totally nailing that Blade character. And man, people really digged it. Before Marvel's glory days, there was DC with its superhero flicks, hogging all the spotlight. But Blade? Oh yeah, that movie was a game changer. Made over $131 million on a budget of just $45 million. Talk about a win. And that's just the beginning of Marvel's epic journey to domination. So let's chat about Weasly Snipes and his killer performance. People were singing his praises left and right, crediting him for both the box office success and critical acclaim of the film. It was like he smashed through this invisible barrier, showing Hollywood a new path. Everyone thought, finally Hollywood's got it. Black actors are gonna snag those lead roles in movies and TV shows. But guess what? Nope, not quite. The struggle was far from finished. Sure, Blade and Weasly Snipes blazed a trail, paving the way for actors like Denzel Washington, Will Smith, Morgan Freeman, and Eddie Murphy to step into the spotlight and shatter stereotypes. But even with their success, their movies still get labeled as exceptions to the rule, at least according to Jeff Flanagan, which focuses on flicks starring African-American talent. Every time there's a success, it gets swept under the rug. It's almost like there's an asterisk on it. They chalk it off as an anomaly. For instance, back in '88, we had this standout moment in movie history with Eddie Murphy's Coming to America. It was like this big anomaly, making over $160 million worldwide and $288 million globally, all on a budget of just $36 million. Then, in '95, we got hit with another surprise with Bad Boys, a buddy cop flick that only cost $19 million to make but raked in a massive $141 million. And let's not forget its sequel, Bad Boys 2, which got a major budget boost to $130 million. Luckily, it paid off big time, bringing in over $273 million. These moments are like Hollywood's wake-up calls, proving that black-led movies can be huge hits. But instead of celebrating them, Hollywood tends to brush them under the rug and go back to skimping on investments in black films. In chatting about the notion that black films don't rake in the cash, Octavia Spencer, the seasoned black actress, broke it down like this. She pointed out how studios often give the cold shoulder to black talent. She got real about how Hollywood throws stacks at white actors while being stingy with their black counterparts. Case in point? Will Smith. You'd think he's swimming in cash, right? Well, turns out he had to dig into his own pockets to cover travel expenses and hotels while promoting his movies. Yeah, even big names like Will have to hustle just to get their films out there. Octavia reckons if Hollywood had invested more in black talent from the get-go, stars like Will wouldn't have to be their own travel agents. Had he not paid for himself to fly all over the world that very first time, he would not be an international box office star. So they have to start investing and taking black actresses and actors across the world just like they do with unknown white actors. Will Smith likely had enough cash to cover his own globe-trotting adventures. But what about other actors and actresses who aren't rolling in it? Imagine you're a rising star, but you can barely scrape together enough for your airfare, let alone fancy costumes and hotel stays. Will might have had enough dough from his Men in Black days to splash out on promoting his flick. But let's face it, not everyone's in that boat. Sadly, a lot of black actors, especially the ladies, get shortchanged in the paycheck department, which means jet-setting around the world to promote a movie just isn't in the cards for them. Take, for example, Monique and her experience with the movie Precious. She says she only got paid a measly $50,000 for her amazing performance in the film. Can you believe it? But here's the kicker. When the producers wanted her to go on this big media tour to promote the movie, she turned them down. She was like, "Nah, I've been away from my family for too long. I need some quality time with them." Plus, she didn't think it made sense to spend her tiny paycheck on promoting the movie when she wouldn't see any extra cash if it did well. But get this, she was willing to do the tour if the studio covered her expenses. She even suggested it to them. But guess what? They never got back to her. And to top it off, Monique says Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, who were the big shots behind the movie, basically blacklisted her. She claims Tyler Perry called up Lee Daniels and was like, "Hey, Monique's a handful to work with." It seems like that whole difficult to work with label really clung to her like glue for most of her career. I mean, she spilled the tea once, saying she was getting scripts left and right, but they were all offering peanuts for pay. And don't even get me started on the big shot studios. They stopped hitting her line for gigs. Plus, even when she did manage to snag a role, she'd often find herself getting typecasted faster than you can say action. But here's the kicker. Just when she thought she had a part locked down, those money people behind the scenes would swoop in and make sure she didn't get it. Imagine if Monique had the same kind of financial cushion as Will Smith. She probably wouldn't have faced all those struggles from being blackballed in the industry, right? But here's the thing. Monique's story is just scratching the surface of what black actors and actresses deal with. Breaking into the industry is like breaking a jinx, and we gotta smash this myth once and for all that black talent doesn't sell. Some folks think this whole debate isn't really about black or white. It's about what makes a good movie. They argue that black movies isn't a genre, so it's tricky to judge their quality solely based on performance. You know, some flicks with mostly black actors might not do so hot in certain genres, but absolutely kill it in others. Take Jordan Peele from the comedy duo Key and Peele, for instance. He's all about making quality films that resonate with audiences. His horror comedy flick Get Out from 2017 smashed records, making over $255 million on its debut. Peele himself has said that everyone he's talked to seemed to dig the movie, and nobody seemed hung up on the cast, even though the lead role was played by Daniel Kaluuya. All I know is from the interviews I've done with people overseas who've seen it, they get it and really dig it just as much as the people who are interviewing me here. Paul Durgarabedian, this media bigwig over at ComScore, totally backed up what was said. If a movie is good, it should transcend borders, cultural difference, and ideologies. We've also got Jonathan Dechter over here shaking things up in the movie biz. He's the big cheese, the president and COO of Voltage Pictures. And guess what? He's not buying into that old tale of black movies not making bank either. That's an overgeneralization to say that black films don't travel. Good movies perform, movies that have something special, unique, something that drives an audience to get off of their sofa and into a cinema perform. Reginald Hudlin, the director behind that awesome Sidney Power biopic from 2022, seems to be vibing with this idea that if a movie's good, it's gonna sell like hotcakes, no matter who's in it. He's not buying into this whole black is a genre thing either. For him, it's just a bit tricky to wrap his head around and keep pushing this harmful myth. The confusion starts with the definition of black film, as if it was a genre. There are musicals, action movies, comedies, horror films, but black is not a storytelling genre. Some folks out there are convinced that there's this whole rigged system in Hollywood that keeps black movies from getting their fair shot. They argue that Hollywood's intentionally shutting them out, favoring the same old white narratives over and over again. They think Hollywood's trying to drown out the black voices and only push the white ones. And you know what? They've got a point. It's like, why do the movies with white themes get all the big bucks, while the ones telling black stories get left in the dust? They're pointing fingers at the big shots in Hollywood, saying they're holding back because they think black movies won't sell internationally. Comedian Bill Maher hit the nail on the head when he summed up this whole mess. The Hollywood executives are like, we're not racist, we just have to pretend to be racists because we're capitalists. We want to sell our movies in China, and they don't like Kevin Hart. You know, it's pretty wild when you think about it. We've seen flicks like Coming to America, Blade, and Black Panther crush it overseas, right? So how on earth did Hollywood big shots get it so wrong, thinking international audiences aren't into movies with predominantly black casts? Even smaller gems like Moonlight, with no big-name actors and mostly black characters, pulled in a whopping $37 million globally on a shoestring budget of $4 million. It's got folks scratching their heads, wondering what the real deal is behind the scenes. I mean, good movies are good movies, no matter who's in them, right? So why the heck are black films and shows constantly getting the short end of the stick? Fans everywhere are asking themselves, why does Hollywood keep on shutting down black productions, hiding behind this bogus idea that they don't sell? Back in the 90s and early 2000s, a bunch of awesome black TV shows got axed to make way for shows with mostly white casts. But one gem that stood out was The Wayans Brothers. It was this hilarious sitcom that aired on the WB. Black fans especially loved it because they could totally vibe with the characters and the situations they found themselves in. It ran for a solid 4 seasons and had the talented John Witherspoon alongside real-life brothers Sean and Marlon Wayans. And get this, most of the big movie and TV review sites gave it a thumbs up, rating it around 7.8 out of 10. That just goes to show how much people dug its quality and popularity. You won't believe it, but that movie we were all hyped about suddenly vanished from the lineup. No warning, no explanation. And guess what they replaced it with? Shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where the cast is mostly white. Total shocker, right? Everyone, from the actors to the fans, was left hanging. No proper ending, no chance to say goodbye. They just dropped the bomb on them one day, saying, "Sorry folks, no work tomorrow." Official reason? Poor ratings. But let me tell you, the fans aren't buying it. They were tuning in, loving it, and the ratings were decent. Even a quick Google search shows the last season pulling in a solid 7.3 out of 10. Plus, it had this die-hard fan base that's still kicking today. So why pull the plug? Fans are scratching their heads, thinking maybe there's more to it than just losing interest. Hollywood's got some explaining to do. All right, so picture this. You're chilling on the couch, flipping through channels, and what do you see? Classic gems like Moesha, Sister Sister, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But hold up. Why do these shows keep getting yanked off the air? It's like they vanish into thin air, right? Well, turns out, it's a real problem for the Black community. See, these shows were more than just entertainment. They were a window into a world where Black folks weren't boxed into tired old stereotypes. They showed us as funny, smart, and downright relatable. And that's a big deal because for too long, Hollywood had us pegged as either gangbangers or servants. But these shows, they flipped the script. Black characters weren't just sidekicks to some main white lead. They had their own lives, stories, and dreams. They were real people, just like you and me. So, when these shows disappear from the airwaves, it's like erasing a part of our own stories. And let's be real here, Black people deserve to see themselves as the multifaceted, complex individuals that we are, not just some token characters. Because at the end of the day, they're not just characters in someone else's story. They're real people living real lives. These TV shows weren't just for Black folks either. They tapped into everyday experiences that anyone could vibe with. Plus, they were a platform for showcasing the incredible talent within the Black community. Those shows opened doors for Black folks dreaming of making it big in Hollywood. But let's be real, the paycheck often doesn't match the hustle. That's why you don't see many Black actors raking in the big bucks. And it's a shame, because even some of the big-name Black producers are guilty of this disparity. Taraji P. Henson, the powerhouse actress we all know and love, got real emotional in this recent interview. She got raw and opened up about the major pay gap issue in Hollywood, like it hit her hard, you know? She even admitted she was on the brink of calling it quits because it felt like no matter how much she hustled, the recognition and rewards she deserved were slipping through her fingers. I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, and getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sisters say the same thing over and over. You get tired. I hear people go, "You work a lot." Well, I have to. The math ain't mathing. When you start working a lot, you have a team. Big bills come with what we do. We don't do this alone. It's a whole team behind us. They have to get paid. This Empire star, she's not just thinking about herself, though. No way. She's all about making sure the next generation of Black actors doesn't have to deal with the same crap. If I can't fight for them coming up behind me, then what the fuck am I doing? Lots of fans believe the pay gap isn't just a coincidence. They think it's a deliberate effort to suppress Black talent and Black-led projects. Why? They say it's to silence Black voices and discourage investment in Black stories. But wait. There are people like Weasly Snipes who don't buy into that idea. They're fighting to show that Black stories sell, and Black talent is valuable. It's all about getting the representation Black people deserve in the movie industry. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.